ahead now and see if we can do something about the nose. At this moment, I'm not going to commit the Cat-Mueller-Clark because let's go ahead and turn off this. Another idea that we're thinking about is the idea that if you look at this nose and you think, oh, it's got a certain shape, one of the ways in which you can find that shape is at this level where there's no Cat-Mueller-Clark, or with the Cat-Mueller-Clark on, and it's each successive level of smoothness or detail that is that you add on. There's 3 levels. There's going to be without the Cat-Mueller, with the Cat-Mueller, and then sculpted. And so in this case, you can see that this isn't remotely close to what that looks like. So let's see if we can get that cleaned up. So we're going to go ahead and do the nose, and what you can kind of see is this was a recycled nose from a different model. It doesn't seem to work at all, and it probably could be manipulated to get into this, but it'd probably be easier to just go ahead and start this thing from scratch. So the thing that's really interesting about this nose is that it's not clear if it's a single line going out to the side as a pair of triangles, or if it's like a quad, a rectangular quad down the center with 2 areas out the triangle. Now, if it's doubly sharp, if it's sharp, that's not going to work. So what we're going to do is, rather than pull those triangles off of this, we're going to do something like this. And then go ahead and delete a bunch of vertices. So there's what we're going to assume is this is a line down the center and then 2 areas off. So it'd be something like this. There's the curve, and we need this to go straight up. So to get that to go straight up, what we're going to do is take these 2 points here. We're going to turn on snapping. We're going to go to vertex snapping, and we're going to do GX, and that should line it up. Now, see, the whole point to this exercise is that we don't have a Cat-Mueller-Clark. We're not doing any sculpting at this point. We're just setting up the sculpt, and we're doing it as a vertex model. And now you see we've got essentially what should be the behavior of the appearance, the way you want to look at this thing. So this is tilting back too far. So what we need to do is move these guys. Turn off proportional editing and move them forward. And let's see how that looks. So the idea is to get now here we have to kind of make up, because it looks like this plane looks good here. This plane right here looks good here, but we know the nostrils have to be somewhere else, so probably something like this. And you see how it resembles the node, and now you're able to go ahead and do something like turn this back on, and you see you don't have the sharpness. And so probably in theory what you could do is you could do something like this. But this raises a debate, which is, do you absolutely need to do this, or could you conceivably just never use this and submit this to your sculpting and sculpt it and retopologize it so that it will have thousands of polygons, and yet it will exactly have this shape, and you'll submit this shape, not a whereas the head we submitted we're going to submit this to the sculpting, and it's got the Kapp-Mueller-Clark applied, but this will be submitted to sculpting and doesn't have the Kapp-Mueller-Clark applied. And the reason why is because the Kapp-Mueller-Clark doesn't give you have to start manipulating it, the Kapp-Mueller-Clark, to get it to look like this. And why bother? Because you don't have to keep the Kapp-Mueller-Clark happy, you only have to keep the sculpture happy. So in this particular case, I'm going to take the Kapp-Mueller-Clark off. So sometimes you're going to use it and sometimes you won't. It all depends on how you're going to go ahead and do that. Now to revisit the nose a little bit more, let's go ahead and move this guy along its edge. And now you've got this question about here. We've got this. Do we move it back? Do we leave it here for sculpting? And then, so it's supposed to sculpt into this, or do we move the head out? Seems to be slightly out because it's pulled out there. So let's go ahead and do this. Very slightly like that. And then the question becomes, do these kinds of subtleties, are they here or are they in sculpting? If you put it too much here where you have it, will it look too obvious? It's not clear, because in general this level is to lay the groundwork for the sculpting process, which is going to be the final place where everything goes. Now you see in the case of the eye, you see there's very little lid, so what you probably have to do is something along the lines of this. And then it probably also I'm just trying to get these eyes, these lined up by eyesight, and then there becomes a question about whether or not you can see that most likely these eyes bulge out, and so we have to get that taken care of, and so that means we need to go back in here and push these back because the eyes are going to be significantly behind this. So what we're going to do is keep moving these guys back, and we can judge where the eyes are relative to the nose. So probably something like this. Then we go back in here and push this using proportional editing until we get something like that. And then maybe something along those lines, although I don't necessarily know that that's necessary. And then get into this kind of debate about minutia. There's a real tendency to solve all of the problems at this level, where really this kind of question about whether that goes back or this goes back or whether there's enough room in here should actually be done finally at the level of the sculpt. Now it looks like I've got a missed a quad here, so let's get that in. Now, what I try to do here is I try to make all these things compatible with cat meter clocks and all quads, but there's probably not a need to do that. And it is really a big question about whether or not you should be spending a lot of time doing this or at this level, or do this at the level of the sculpt. But the key thing here is to get this behavior where this thing swings down, and you can see that this is supposed to go all the way down to the mouth and then form this line. It's not supposed to bend down like this. So what probably needs to do is have this slide down something like that. And I'm doing it along the edge using the GG key. Now the question comes up is, where is the nostril going to go? It's probably in here. And then what you'll do here is you will use sculpting to fill this space in here. See, right now it's a straight line like that, but you'll sculpt that and clean that clean. But here what you see is what characterizes this model's nose is the point, and there it is, the point. And so you have, at this point, you've got what you need to do the model. You've got what you need to do the nose of the model in terms of capturing the characteristics that are present in the drawing.